June 3rd, 2022 is the day that I decided I was going to do everything in my power to become a multi-millionaire. It's also the day I graduated high school and realized I can either settle for mediocrity or put 100% of my effort into doing something extraordinary. So with that being said, I'm going to try to do something extraordinary. Step one of the plan is to come up with a plan. The first and most logical step to becoming a millionaire is to find out how much you would need to earn per year. So I Googled it, and you would need to make over $500 every hour in order to make $1 million in a year. Personally, I can't think of any jobs I would enjoy where you make that much, so it became pretty clear pretty quick that I probably shouldn't go that route. I'd also probably need to go to college, but like everyone else in my generation, I think it's really a waste of time to use a college education to make money unless you're guaranteed a job straight out the gate to pay off all of that debt. There's really not a lot of jobs, in my opinion, that have a positive return on investment, so an hourly wage couldn't be the solution. This led to me exploring alternative ways of making money, and what makes the most sense for me is to start a business or 20 and begin growing those as sources of income. I took a journalism class all throughout high school and realized that most people in the generations before me actually have little to no idea how to make a video about themselves or about an event. Personally, I think it's not that hard to get the idea, and although I have a lot of room for improvement, I decided to start my own videography business. I'm still getting it off the ground, and I haven't actually made a profit off of it yet, but the thing about businesses is that they take a while to really get started. Then once they do, their growth is exponential, assuming you do things correctly. Since I'm only 18 and still live at home, it makes sense for me to stick with it and make it grow while I have a safety net. In fact, it'd be stupid not to. Both my parents run their own businesses, and my girlfriend is also starting her own. Her parents are also business owners, and she's on board with what I'm doing. So if I look at the people around me, I'm set up perfectly to begin pursuing some kind of career and or start some kind of business. Step two for me is to grow in a public space, which is why I'm here. Sure, I might have room for improvement when it comes to making videos, but it makes a lot more sense for me to try a lot and fail a lot really quickly so that I can learn even faster. I've noticed that most big YouTube channels aren't really doing anything that special except for recording their day-to-day lives and what they're doing in their business. They're just really consistent, and they have decent video and audio quality. And to be fair, that last part isn't even 100% necessary. Most of the beginnings of some of the biggest channels out there sucked, and that's not even me trying to bash them to feel good about myself. They have said it themselves. I also haven't even brought up how running a YouTube channel is essentially a business in and of itself, and therefore you run it like one. I suppose it makes sense from a technical standpoint. I mean, you have to make a video and then give it to someone, or in this case, you put it into a public space, and in return, you get paid. Unless you're a brand new channel like this one, in which case you decide to make videos for fun, knowing that it's probably going to be a minute before you make any profit. That media class I took in high school, we had to make videos every week, and they were put into the school broadcast. We were heavily limited by school rules and could only post videos that were relevant, so creatively, we were kind of screwed. It also was a school broadcast, which only has so much room for growth. That being said, we still had to put out videos weekly. This led to us getting really creative because we had to make content within a certain range of topics. We also had about 4 or 5 groups, and we would air the best 1 or 2 videos to the whole school, so there was definitely some competition there. To make things even more complicated for me, I was the executive producer of the program and had to review every video and help people come up with ideas. This didn't really help me in terms of coming up with content because I was already decent at coming up with ideas, but it did drill into my brain that I should make a video every week. Of course, since I graduated, that was no longer a requirement, so naturally I made it a requirement for myself. I want to try and upload at least once a week, if nothing else, just to get me out of the house. This all kind of ties back to becoming a millionaire because it can very easily become another source of income. Step 3, the final and most difficult step so far, at least for me personally, is to start. Honestly, my whole life I've had a hard time starting new things because I'm a huge perfectionist. It makes me look lazy to teachers and coaches when in reality I'm nervous about failing and looking stupid. Anybody who's met me in real life already knows this. I mean, when I was learning how to ride a bike, I wanted to put pillows on the ground so I wouldn't get hurt if I fell. I eventually had to realize that the only way to learn how to ride a bike was to accept that I might fall, and that's okay, but I need to always get up and try again. So here I am now, learning how to ride a bike, so to speak. I also wanted to take a look at my daily life and habits and determine whether or not they contributed to me being successful. I did some research and watched a ton of videos about it, and I found that the way I live and go about my day really isn't that different from the way a lot of successful people live and go about their days. I mean, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning so I can lift weights when I can. I invest in things, and I'm always trying to learn something new, either by first-hand experience, like making my own YouTube videos, or watching somebody else do it. Obviously, it takes a lot more than just these habits to make someone a millionaire, or successful at all for that matter, but knowing that I'm already naturally doing these things is actually pretty reassuring. This video most likely won't go viral, and that's okay, because in my opinion, success isn't a measurement of luck. The way I see it is that successful successful people are successful because they work really hard 99% of the time, and they're lucky that last 1% of the time, if they're lucky at all. If we take a look at people who inherited their wealth without any struggle, then this hypothesis is proven. 70% of families lose their wealth by the next generation, and 90% lose their wealth in the generation after that. This brings me to another thing I want to talk about, and I'll most likely make another video about it, but I don't want my kids to start from scratch. I was fortunate enough to have humble beginnings and actually watch my parents work to get us to a better place. They aren't super duper rich now with millions and millions of dollars, but there's enough to support me and my 3 younger siblings comfortably. I took note of what they went through and I watched really closely, and it's given me an appreciation for the work that they've put into making our lives better. They're humble and they work hard, so here I am now trying to do the same for my future kids. This does leave one question unanswered though, and that's the question of how I plan on getting there. For me, that means developing my business so that it can be my main source of income. I'm looking at helping small businesses make advertisements because there's a million small businesses in California, but most of them don't really know how to produce content. Or maybe they do, but they struggle to find the time to do so. I can bridge that gap. Eventually, I'd like to start outsourcing that business so I can start another business and continue that cycle and eventually have multiple businesses. I'm not 100% sure if that's how it works because I haven't done it myself. I've heard plenty of people say that that's how things work, and I've heard just as many people argue the opposite, so I figured the best way for me to know if that works for me is to try it myself. I'd love to own several large businesses and be the guy to go to. I'd also like to use those businesses to make a positive impact on the world by helping smaller businesses and individuals reach their full potential. Personally, I've had plenty of times where I wish I could do something huge that would change the world of people around me, but I didn't really have an outlet to do it, though. Thinking back, I probably could have if I had that extra push. So who knows, maybe everything will happen exactly how I'm thinking it will, or maybe it'll be the best thing that never happened. Either way, I'm giving this my all because I'm at an age where I can afford to take risks because I have time to correct them. If all else fails, I go to college later in my 20s or 30s, and I can rest assured knowing that I at least tried. I scratched the itch of starting my own business, and I gave it my best shot. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.